This is Good Morning San Diego.
Well, with his second term in office only 2 months away, President-elect Donald Trump continues to make nominations for his cabinet. This week, he rounded out his cabinet secretaries, so the next step is Senate confirmation. News Nation's Libby Dean has the details.
President-elect Trump making nearly a dozen more cabinet and administration picks as he prepares for a second term. In the last remaining cabinet role, Trump nominating Brooke Rollins for Agriculture Secretary. Rollins is the president and CEO of the conservative think tank America First Policy Institute. The institute's chair, Linda McMahon, is also among Trump's cabinet selections. The rest of Trump's picks include Congresswoman Lori Chavez-DeRemer for Labor Secretary, Dr. Marty McCary for FDA Commissioner, as well as returning officials from his first term, such as Scott Turner, Sebastian Gorka, and Russell Vogt. And arguably one of Trump's most important cabinet selections so far, Scott Bessent as Treasury Secretary.
This man, will you come up here, please? Just come up here for a moment. He is considered one of the most brilliant men on Wall Street.
Bessent, a billionaire hedge fund investor, was once a major donor to Democrats, giving money to Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, and Barack Obama. He's well known on Wall Street, but not in Washington, likely part of why Trump tapped him for Treasury. The president-elect also dealing with an early blow as one of his first cabinet picks bowed out this week. Former Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, who Trump chose for Attorney General, withdrew his name from consideration on Thursday. A short time later, Trump announced his replacement in former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi. She also represented then-President Trump during his first impeachment trial in 2020. The Bondi pick is yet another from the Sunshine State, putting Florida at the center of American politics. Bondi brings the total to 4 top-level Trump picks that hail from Florida, along with Secretary of State nominee Marco Rubio, Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, and National Security Advisor pick Mike Waltz. The president-elect looking close to home to fill his administration.
The Supreme Court has announced it will allow a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit to proceed against Meta over a privacy scandal involving Cambridge Analytica. This comes as the High Court dismissed Meta's appeal to shut down the lawsuit. Investors allege Meta did not fully disclose that Facebook users' data would be misused by Cambridge Analytica, a firm that supported President-elect Donald Trump's first presidential campaign. Cambridge Analytica paid a Facebook app developer for access to 87 million Facebook users' personal information. The data was then used to target voters during the presidential campaign. Meta's already paid a $5.1 billion fine and reached a $725 million privacy settlement with users. All right, Jason, I'm going to send things over to you.
All right. Thank you, Delaney. The incoming Trump administration could have some impacts on employment law. And joining us to discuss further is employment attorney Annie Ellis. Annie, good morning. Good to see you again.
Good morning, Jason. Likewise.
Okay. We got a new administration coming in. We kind of know what to expect. What's it mean for businesses and employers and employees alike?
Well, when I was here a week ago, we didn't know who the Department of Labor nominee was going to be, and now we know that, fresh off the press, right? So I was kind of interested to see that it wasn't a private business person. I was expecting maybe someone, a CEO that, ran a multi-thousand person company, but we've got Chavez-DeRemer from Oregon, and what's interesting about that is she's incredibly pro-labor, pro-union. You don't usually see that with a Republican pick, but I think what was interesting about this election season is we saw the Teamsters not really pick a nominee, right? They didn't really pick either side, and so I think this is sort of speaking to maybe we're going to try to bridge employers and employees and maybe bring them closer together instead of the divide that's really been widening. So I think it's going to be a big change for the Department of Labor in terms of things we're going to see coming down the road.
And what does that mean for us here in California?
Well, a lot of the wage laws here in California are set by the state, not by the federal government. So to some extent, we might not see a huge impact, but there's a couple areas. One, the Department of Labor has been aggressively pursuing certain California employers, especially those on the border. Maybe we won't see that quite as much. The other way is union, and I think that this is speaking to the nominee. The fact that union laws are mostly federal, not state, and there's been a lot of really aggressive rulings under the Biden administration about non-disparagement clauses, being able to say bad things about your employer, confidentiality and severance agreements, captive audience meetings, meaning, hey, everyone, you need to come to this meeting to talk about why we don't want a union in the workplace. I think we're going to see another shift, but maybe not as aggressive as we had originally thought.
And what else are you looking at as we look down the road, what can we expect?
Well, the big thing right now with the Department of Labor is the minimum salary threshold. So, for example, if you want to pay someone a salary, under federal law, you have to pay them at least $35,000 a year. Well, the Biden administration tried to bump that to $58,000 a year, which was going to start on January 1st. So there's been a big challenge. Can they even do that? Could they even raise that level? And I think what we're going to see now is now that a Texas judge said, no, you can't do that. You didn't have, the right authority to raise that threshold. So they stopped the law from taking effect. And now that Trump is coming in, I think what we're going to see is that lawsuit's going to stop, no more challenges, and so the $35,000 is going to remain. Now, again, that doesn't impact California as much, but that was going to be a big change for a lot of companies across the United States.
The administration is red, and we're in a blue state. Are they going to be able to coincide, work together, get along?
Well, that's a big question. How long do we got? I do think that in terms of some of the wage and hour stuff and the labor code, I don't think there's going to be a lot of friction between the Department of Labor and the Trump administration and the state of California. But I think on this union stuff, case law that's coming out, judges that are going to get appointed that continue to make law, I think that there is going to be some friction there between federal and state, and we're just going to have to see what happens.
But does the federal law always supersede the state?
So businesses have to follow whatever is more stringent. So if the federal law is more stringent, they have to follow it. If the state law is more stringent, they have to follow it. So what happens is when the two don't reconcile with each other and you don't have a clear answer about which one's more stringent, that's when you have to go to the courts and ask for input. And I think that's where we're going to see maybe the Supreme Court weigh in and give us some good case law for businesses finally.
Wow, okay. Long road ahead, but I know you'll be here to break it down for us.
I will.
All right. Annie Ellis. Thanks, Annie.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you.